Hi everyone. So I want to tell you about my story of a shame experience while I was at school. So don't worry, this isn't anything too traumatic, but it did have a big impact on me going through my school career. It started in P2, so primary two. I would have been about maybe 5 years old. And our class was called to the music room to audition for the school nativity play. And we were standing in three rows. I remember very clearly I was standing in the middle row, and the teacher was playing the piano. I think the song was Little Donkey, and we were all singing along. And mid plinky plonk on the piano, the teacher stopped and said, "Who is making that dreadful droning noise?" And of course, all us 4 or 5 year olds looked at each other and wondered who it was. I had no idea at this stage that it was me, but it was. And she then said, "Continue singing." And she walked along the line while she listened to everybody. And as she got to me, she stopped and she said, "Linda Sayers, just you mine." And I can remember very clearly at that moment being so humiliated. My friends sniggered, some of them laughed out loud, and I wanted the ground to just open up and swallow me. But I remember very clearly my immediate shame response, and it was to attack others. I remember thinking, "I wish she would die." Now, obviously, I didn't mean this and I didn't act on it, but the thought was there to attack others. I left school that day. I went out to the car. I met my mum. I burst into tears. I was very distressed and upset. I didn't want to go back to school. I was never going back to school. And my mum did what any good support network would do. She reassured me, she comforted me, and she told me it doesn't matter because you're good at other things. You're good at reading, you're good at being friends with people, you're fantastic at art. And so I recovered and I managed to go back into school the next day and for the rest of that year and for the rest of my school career. So I finished primary school and I moved into secondary school. And in secondary school, for the first 3 years, you had to take music as core curriculum. Now, to put a little bit of context around this, I was a good kid at school. I had very little choice to be anything but a good kid because my dad taught at the school that I went to. But I was the captain of the hockey team. I represented the school at the debate society. I eventually became a prefect and then head girl of this school. So I was considered a fairly good kid, but not in music. No, in music, I was disruptive. I was a joker. I would have caused difficulties for other children. If people turned their back, I would have written little quavers into their music sheets and disrupted their learning. I would have done anything to avoid people realizing that I couldn't sing, that I wasn't good at music. And so my shame responses or my shame behaviors were very much about avoidance, very much about avoiding people ever discovering that I was not competent in music. I managed to get through to third year. I don't know how, but I did. And I left music. I didn't carry music on, not surprisingly, and carried on with the rest of my school career fairly successfully. And then I reached the age of 29 and I decided that I wanted to do something very challenging. I wanted to take something on that would challenge me as a person. And so I decided that I was going to learn how to play a musical instrument. And I chose the saxophone. I chose the tenor saxophone, quite a big one. And I got myself a tutor and I learned how to play music. Now, I went from my classical grades right through from grade 1 to 5 with distinctions the whole way, which was the top level that you could get. I was a good saxophonist. And then I gave up. I withdrew. My shame behaviour came back into play and I withdrew from playing the saxophone. And you might question why? Why would I do this? Having got such great results and such great outcomes in my tests and my grades. Well, the long and short of it was that at grade 6, you have to do an oral singing exam as part of your grade. And again, I was not going to risk that shame feeling that I had experienced when I was 4 years old, 5 years old. And so I withdrew. My shame behaviour was still affecting me 26 years later in my life. So I want and I invite you to consider just how much, whether your responses to children are intentional or even unintentional, that the sense of shame that a child can feel at not being good enough or being ridiculed or feeling humiliated, even when it's not intentional, can have a very significant and long-term impact on their educational career as they go forward.